Good morning. Good morning. It's the 25th of January 2025, and it's 1:11 in the AM. I had actually planned to get on yesterday morning, but stuff led the others, well, not in the morning, but more around like 1-ish, 2-ish, but stuff happened, and now I'm coming on here at 1:11 a.m. in the morning on Saturday instead of 2, 3 p.m. on the 21st on Friday. But it is what it is. Yeah, because like yesterday morning when I woke up, I was reading like Numbers 31 and different things. And I was reading like what God told Moses to do to get rid of certain people. And then he said to avenge the children of Israel of the Midianites, after shalt thou be gathered unto thy people. So of course Moses couldn't enter the promised land because he disobeyed God. Instead of giving God the glory, he hit the rock and the water came out. So God really got pissed off at Moses, and so because of his rebellion, he could not enter the promised land. And so here we are in Numbers 31, where this is his final bow, because then he was going to pass on. And in this particular chapter, um, Moses spake to the people, saying, arm some of yourselves unto the war, and let them go against the Midianites and avenge the Lord of Midian. Like, Lord is all caps: L, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. So God was taking vengeance on the Midianites. And so Moses got the people together and he sent them to war, 1,000 of every tribe. Um, and Phineas, the son of Eleazar the priest, to the war with holy instruments and trumpets. And they warred against the Midianites as the Lord commanded. Now, I want you to understand, you notice the word commanded is used, right? So I'm only highlighting this because when God gives a command or commands us to do something, it's what his word says. It's more than just the 10 commandments. So if he says, like, do not have like sex with your daughter, your aunt and all these people, those are commands. You understand? Those are commands that he has given us because those things are considered incest. You understand? So the Bible is more than just the 10 commandments. There are a lot of things that God does not want us to do. Okay. So Moses and, the people he sent out slew the king of Midian, Evi, Rechem, and Zur, and Hur, and Reba, and names that I'm trying to pronounce. And the 5 kings of Midian, Balam, also the son of Beor, they slew with the sword. So, Balaam, the one who turned on God and became a disciple of Satan, he was also killed in this scenario. And um, the people of God burned all the cities where the Midianites and these people lived, burned all their castles with fire, took all the spoils, the prey, both men and beasts, and they brought the captives and the prey and the spoil unto Moses and Eleazar the priest and unto the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the camp at the plains of Moab. And Moses and Eleazar the priest went to meet the people outside the camp, and Moses was pissed off with the officers of the host, with the captains and whatnot, with the captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, which came from the battle. So the host here is called like the captains, all right? And Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? And then these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. So remember, right? Balaam could not curse the people of Israel back then at a certain point because they were they didn't have a curse. They couldn't be cursed because they were living righteous lives. So a curse without a cause cannot come. But when Balaam gave Balak advice on how to manipulate the people, the men got involved with these women and then they sullied themselves. They had, they fornicated, and then the hedge of protection that God had on them was removed and they became corrupted. So these women were also meant to be slain, killed, okay, from, the people who were at war, Moses against those people. But the captains and them, they kept these women alive. And so let me see. So behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Balaam to commit trespass against the Lord in the matter of Peor. And it caused a plague and all these different things. And therefore, kill every male among the little ones and kill every woman that had known man by lying with him. But all the women, children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. So the virgins were to be kept alive, and the women who had intercourse with men, they were to be killed. So these are some serious things that went on during all these thousands of years ago, when Balaam helped Balak to corrupt God's people by being subtle. In the beginning, right? How like the serpent was acted in such was very subtle with Eve, and he caused her to eat from the forbidden tree, right? Remember that? So the serpent acted in a subtle way, and then he manipulated her into eating the forbidden fruit, and in turn, she caused her husband, Adam, to eat of the fruit. So it's a similar tactic that Satan utilized through his servant Balaam to get these people to sin, to get God's people to sin. He used subtle ways to make it come to pass, and they sinned, and then God turned his back on them for a short period of time, and they went through what they went through. They got scattered, they suffered all sorts of stuff, and then as things usually went on in the Bible, they returned to God at some point. And but notice how the women and the children that came through the act of fornication, they had to die. Isn't that interesting? Because, well, I'm thinking that the children were children of that relationship that they had with these men, with God's people. It was their offspring that these women had, so they had to die. Look, I am just reading the Bible. There are a lot of things that went on in the Bible that had me say, "Whoa, this is some deep stuff," like. So I'm concluding like these people were impure in some way that they all had to die. There's so many things that happens in the Bible that excuse me, Mm, I made some juice with ginger. I think I didn't stir it up properly because I'm feeling I had ginger, carrots, celery, cucumbers, and whatnot, and I juiced them, right? But I don't think I stirred it up properly because I like the pulp. I like to keep some of the pulp in the juice. But when I pour them all in, I don't think I mixed it properly because I think I have more of the ginger and the rest of the ingredients are probably at the bottom. So I got to go and shake it up. But the ginger is good because it's supposed to clear the lungs and all these different things. Anyway, I digress. Um, so I just find this very, very interesting. So the people then they had to go ahead and get rid of these women and children so God would um, be appeased by the situation. Because, in other words, when God gives a command, when God says to do something, this is one of the lessons here. When God says to do something, you got to do it because if you don't do it, you will have consequences. And the consequences, most likely, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be wonderful. It's not going to be beneficial. You understand what I'm saying? But nowadays, there are different ways that people experience death. Back in the day, this is what happened back in the day. In current days, yeah, you know what? I believe, right? I believe, and because it's biblically substantiated that plagues do occur, like, for instance, the coronavirus that we experienced and all these other things that, events that occur in life. I do believe that these are consequences of things that we have done on this earth that's causing these things to occur. Because God doesn't like certain things like abortions, and because that's murder, that's considered a sacrifice, that's considered a sacrifice to Moloch. So there are things, even though the terms have changed and different things have changed, um, apparently changed. The effects is still the same. Because whatever is reaped, whatever a person reaps, they sow. If you sow evil, you will reap evil. A lot of our ancestors, especially, I don't know about, well, I do have Caucasian people in my bloodline. If I recall correctly, my oh gosh, my yes, my mother's mother, who, well, my mother's mother and father, they are from their parents. Well, my mother's mother father, whose last name is Painter, they came from, what's that place, St. Vincent. And my mother's mother father was Scottish. And yeah, and apparently they immigrated to St. Vincent. All right, but whatever. My family, and as a lot of us, our families like whatever, right? So a lot of things occur in the bloodline where our family members did certain pagan activities that unfortunately some of us are paying the price for their actions today. But however, these curses can be clarified, removed through prayer and fasting. Because there, in some families, you could see that there is uh, like everybody's getting a certain disease. that would be considered a generational curse. You understand what I'm saying? And that comes down through the bloodline. And sometimes, anyway, I'm getting off the topic. I have a tendency, when I'm talking, sometimes I remember things that occur and then I start talking on it. And I think a lot of us do that, right? We start talking on one topic, then something else pop in our heads, and then we start discussing it. So, anyway, so based on what the Lord wanted done here, apparently, these people were very, very contaminated, and he didn't want them to exist anymore. And, God gets upset. I know God is love because he is, but he's also a God of justice. He's also a God of war. He has different characteristics. And I've said this before, and the reason why I'm going to repeat it now, because I really get tired of people saying, like, when someone dies, oh, well, they're in a good place. How do you know they're in a good place? When they've lived their lives doing evil. When I say evil, I'm talking about like evil, killing, doing wicked things to people, like um, not doing good things. All right. People have lived their lives in such a horrific and terrible way. And when they die, oh, they're in a good place now. Well, look, to be honest with you, anything is possible because in the last minute of life, God could show up when someone's in a coma and they can be translated, have the spirit of the man. When I say man, I'm referring to women as well. Could have like a connection with God and they could choose God in their last moment of life. That's a possibility. And the reason why I'm saying this, because again, here I am, I'm going to mention something. My ex father in law, for instance, and everything I tell you is true. He was in the hospital. I didn't have the best relationship with my ex mother in law because she was not a good person. And I don't really want my son to listen to all of this, but she was into certain lifestyle. So I really didn't want to go to see him in the hospital because he was in the hospital, right? And so I remember that day. I think it was a Saturday, either a Saturday or Sunday. And I ended up going because like I heard something prompt me to go to the hospital to see him. And I'm like, why should I even go? Because he was not really like wonderful to me. He wasn't the worst, but he wasn't wonderful. But I ended up going. And when I went there, I bumped into two of his blood relatives there, and they also didn't want to go. They say, you know what? I really didn't feel like coming here, but they felt like they had to show. And I said, look, I didn't because I told them first that I didn't really want to be here. I'm just going to come here and pray and leave. And it turns out they were also believers. And then and they were also feeling like I did. They didn't really want to go, but they ended up going. So that was actually a divine appointment because this is what occurred. So I prayed for him and I asked God to spare his life, although he ended up dying. And they also prayed for him, and their prayers was, and I was, we all prayed for his soul to be saved, basically. But I also wanted his life to be spared because I wanted because he's my son's grandfather. I mean, yeah. So he died the following morning in the middle of the night, and I knew that's up because he wasn't saved before that, whatever. And I believe 100% that when we went there, it was a divine appointment, and our prayer was able to push back because one put 10,000 to flight. So we put three of us there, prayer warriors, put 30,000 to flight. You understand what I'm saying? And I believe that God was able to have some sort of conversation with him, and I believe he's with the Lord right now because there's no way, because I mean, I'm just making a long story short. There's no way that that could have happened. So I believe my ex-father-in-law is with the Lord, and God made it so that we could go there and pray him into the kingdom. And in the last moments of his life, he made a conscious decision and turn his life over to Jesus Christ. And I believe that because of what happened, because what I experienced that day and what the other his two blood relatives, what they said to me, I believe that's what happened. So, yeah, God could show up in the ninth or 11th hour and a person can be saved. That is indeed possible. It's indeed very, very possible. But for the most part, because the Bible did say we'll have surprises when we get to heaven. So apparently, there are people who we are going to expect to be there who are not going to be there. And then there are people who we didn't expect will be there. You understand? And I want to be in that number. I want to be there. Okay. So I just want to live a life that is pleasing to God. So at the end of it, he'll say, well done, ye good and faithful servant. So, so that's a true story. But on however, not everyone, when they pass away, end up in heaven. So I really get annoyed when I hear people say, oh, he's in a good place now, she's in a good place now, because we don't know that. We don't know that. But anyway, I just came on. I digressed a lot, which I normally do. I try to stay focused most times, but I really got my point across basically that God is involved in every area of our lives. We may not agree and like everything that happened, but if there's nothing that happens on this earth that God doesn't know and he's not aware of. And I'm gonna end it here. And I think I have too much pulp in this drink, and I'm gonna get off and whatnot and whatnot. So you have a good night. Be blessed, and don't forget to read your Bible every day. And thank God every day for waking you up in your right mind and keeping you whole and keeping you healthy. And I'll see you when I see you. Bye.